Now, did you get to say the Green Lantern oath at all? Whenever you
No,
did?
no. I'm
No.
sure if that was going to be a thing, that would be later on in his vision. But he would have to do that, right? Like he would have
Right.
to have Green Lantern say that at some point.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of A-Listers. My guest today is an actor, and I mean, who am I kidding? This is our Green Lantern. Welcome to the show, Wayne T. Carr.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's great to be here, man.
When doing some research, I've seen that you've done a lot of theater and a solid bit of TV and film. How do the two differ for you, and which one do you prefer more, and is there a reason why?
I mean, the difference is kind of like frequency. Like I teach a lot, and I've only been really pursuing film and television for 5 years. I've been primarily in theater. That's been what my passion, what I love to do, telling stories, etc. But I was based in New York, doing the regional theater circuit for a while. And when I got to LA, what I quickly learned is, of course, on stage, it's grander, it's bigger, right? You have an audience of 99 plus, and sometimes 1,100 in certain places that I work. So you have to project, and the energy that is needed is huge. And on film and television, it's like, I have my little mic here. I can speak like this and communicate, and it's like it's amazing, right? So that the frequency of like the level that you have to like pump out energy is completely different. When I first got to LA, I went in for an audition. I opened my mouth. I already have a very expressive face. I said something, and the casting director was like, Wayne, you can bring it down. You can just got a mic right here. So that's the biggest difference. And I primarily focused in theater because that's what I primarily trained in. So I was kind of intimidated by film and television. And when I did have a couple of auditions here and there for a TV show or something, I realized when I walked into the room, like anybody, if you can just imagine walking into an audition room and seeing someone that you've seen on television and thinking, well, what am I going to do? Like that guy right there, I've seen him on everything. I love your work, man. You know what I mean? Like it was very, very intimidating, and it took me a while and a little growing up before I was able to be confident in what I'm able to do. So
how did that process work when you were brought on by Zack to play Green Lantern?
It was awesome, man. It was a dream come true. I think Zack said in one interview that he said, I don't think Wayne thought it was real. And I think anyone in my situation would have thought the same thing. It was in the middle of COVID, like in the heart of COVID, right? Things were like shut down, right? Everything. And so I just didn't think it was like a thing. I already knew that his version was coming out. Like I had heard all the information, and I didn't think that I didn't know or believe that he had other ideas that he wanted to come to life. And so when I went over to his house to shoot this thing, I thought that this was just like some kind of potential thing, like maybe he might be thinking about this or whatever. And then when we were done shooting, he was like, "This is in the movie, you know this, right?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, he said, if Warner Brothers if they don't allow me to put this in my version of this film, I'm shutting it down. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And he actually said that later on in an interview. I was like, he was serious? What? So it was a great process. I just kind of like went there. I spent about 4 hours at his house. I got to sit in his movie theater for a little while they were prepping and setting up. And I was like, oh, this is where all this stuff. I've seen this online. This is cool. Right. This is great. And then he was like, all right, Wayne, we're ready. So I go up to his driveway and we started playing around, and he started shooting some lines at me. And he was like, say this. And I was like, all right, great. Blah, 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 blah. And it was just fun. And the next thing I know, I was done. And I was like, okay, here you go.
Now, did you get to say the Green Lantern oath at all?
No. I'm sure if that was going to be a thing, that would be later on in his vision. But he would have to do that, right? Like he would have to have Green Lantern say that at some point. But I didn't, not for this shoot. Basically, I was where Martian Manhunter is at the end.
Right.
That's where I was supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. And I
Now,
said a version of that similar thing. Like,
is there of course you could say no. Would you be willing to tease a little bit of what that oath might sound like, or
yeah, no, I've been asked that before, and I was like, I don't want to jinx myself. I want this to happen, and I want the first time it happens
to be on the
film. Yeah, absolutely.
That's fair.
Absolutely. If Zaslav comes in or whatever, somebody Discovery comes in and they're like, yep, it's not happening. There's no way Justice League 2 is happening, and we don't want Green Lantern or whatever. If that is the case, then I will be on every freaking channel all over the place. I'm like, I'm going to say it at some point.
It's going to happen. Now, I know Zack showed like a picture of how the CG and everything looked. Did he have a final version of that scene that he ever showed you, or not at all?
No, we shot around, I think it was August 7th. August 7th, and then what fandom? DC fandom, I think, was like August 24th that year. And I know that it wasn't finished by then. Like, I know he didn't have, he didn't have Martian Manhunter scene complete with Lois. He didn't have, there were things that weren't complete yet, right? So when he showed it to Warner Brothers, it wasn't, around that time he showed it to Warner Brothers, there was the fandom that happened. And I know that he wasn't completed then. And then after he showed it to Warner Brothers, that's when he had the altercation with them. And they said, you can't do this. We're not allowing this. We don't want this or whatever. And what he did after that, I don't know. I do know he did more shoots because I talked to Ray beforehand that fall. So I don't know how far they got in the completion of the special effects, because they probably want a time crunch, right? So they probably didn't focus on my scene at all.
I mean, after seeing which I assume you've watched the Snyder cut. After seeing that, I'm like, man, I want to see Green Lantern in that nightmare scenario.
Absolutely.
Throwing down with everybody. So I assume you're on board with they should restore the Snyderverse.
Yes.
100%.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, because I was a fan before I was even a part of it, right? Because I'm good friends with Cyborg, Ray Fisher. Yeah. And of course, I got to experience it from the beginning, from him getting the role to filming to, whatever, and the ups and downs of what that was. And so I was a fan, and I was watching all of the podcasts and listening to all of the YouTubers and just excited for him and what he was doing. So I've been a fan of the universe, from the jump. And now that Zack made me a part of it, I was like, well, this has to happen. Like, it's a must.
Right.
Do this thing. Yeah. So
what I keep saying is, like, if they don't want him to have his 2 films to close it, at least let him have one big send off film, where everything can be packaged up for it.
I agree. I agree with you. I completely agree.
Because I saw some people say they were saying, well, he had his film, and it's like, yeah, but most of that was shot, so it's not like he could have completely changed what was existing already from the story. So give him a chance to write and close everything up and get our Green Lantern on the screen.
Right.
Now, do you have a favorite memory that comes to mind from any of the sets you've been a part of, for theater, for film, anything like that?
Yeah. Sure. And it's different things for different reasons. Okay. I think one of the one of the highlights will probably have to be the Macbeth film that is coming out on Christmas, because I've been a Denzel fan, a Frances McDormand fan, a Joel Cohen, a Coen Brothers fan for such a long time. And to be able to be a part of that on a day-to-day basis, I was able to be the consultant and have a little small part in the film. And just to be on the set, walking next to an idol of mine who I think is absolutely amazing, who motivated me to get into this business, and to talk to him and chop it up with him right before he's about to do a scene. It was like it was like a dream come true. You know what I mean?
Now, do you know if there was any plan? Did Zach share any plans at all if he would have continued with your character? Anything that he had in mind to do with your character, or nothing at all? Just
The only thing he told me, and it was the day of the shoot, was that my character, John Stewart, will be an integral role in part 2. Like that's
gotcha.
all I heard. That's all, and I didn't ask for any more because I was like,
Do you, now it could be Green Lantern, could have been something you already did, but do you have a dream acting role?
I don't necessarily. I used to when I first started. I was like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. But I think the longer you're in the business of storytelling, the more you realize that each individual project that you do has something to teach you and has some value to you, depending on how you look at it. But I think most actors, they learn something with everything and with every role. And so you don't want to devalue the roles that you have coming up or the roles that you're doing by looking at something that you're like, oh, I want to do this thing, when you're actually working on something right now. And so you completely immerse yourself in that. And there are a lot of gifts that happen with that.
Now, this last part I have for you are going to be some rapid fire questions. First one that comes to your mind: favorite movie?
Fifth Element.
Favorite video game?
Favorite Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. Old school. I like it.
Old school. Yeah.
Favorite superhero?
Batman.
What color is your toothbrush?
My toothbrush is blue and white.
Favorite sport?
Football.
Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Most fun you've ever had on any set for acting?
Most fun would be working with Zack, just because Zack is, and I'm sure you've heard other people say it, and an experience, because of their experience. He is passionate about these stories. He's in a level that is both childlike and authoritative. He knows what he's talking about, but he has a lot of play in it. And so to not have a strong working relationship with him, because that was the first time we had met, the day we were actually working together, it was super easy. It was super fun. And he was very collaborative with this person that he barely knew. And, like, we only talked on the phone maybe 4 or 5 times, and that was it. And then I jumped into it and we had a blast for 4 hours.
If you had to pick one superpower, what would it be?
Flight, probably. I would love to fly. Yeah.
Biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve is bullying.
What would you do on Mars for fun?
On Mars, for fun, if I could fly, I would fly all over the place. That's what I would do.
Heck yeah. If you could add one person, does not have to be a president, to Mount Rushmore, who would it be and why?
That's it. That's a really good question. I would probably pick somebody like Mother Teresa or something. You know what I mean? Like a person of the opposite sex, someone who is just all about peace and love, and just to hopefully inspire the future generations.
Now, you might have a bias on this, but that's okay. Who would win in a fight, Green Lantern or Thor?
Ooh, that would be a good fight. I think a really good fight. But yeah, I have to go with Green Lantern, man.
How do you like your steak cooked?
I'm a medium well person.
What's a piece of advice you wish you could have told yourself as a kid?
Don't be afraid. Take chances.
It's so true.
It's so true, man. And it's a hard lesson to learn, because you get, intimidated.
You get in your own head, and you're like, no, I can't. No.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a piece of advice that I would tell any young person, myself included. It's like, take chances. What do you want to do in life? Especially if you have the opportunity to take chances.
Yeah.
Then do.
Not everybody has that. Yeah.
No.
Right.
It's a gift to be able to take chances. So if you have that, and you have, a supportive family who will pick you up if you fall down, because you put all of your money into this thing, and they'll be like, oh, you can stay with me for, you name it, right? Try to start that business, try to go after that job, write to that person.
What is one of your favorite memories in life?
I have so many favorite memories, but I just had a daughter, man. So that's she's 4.5 months now in the other room with the babysitter. That's how I'm able to talk to you right now. And yeah, that was incredible.
What would you say your biggest goal in life is?
To be of assistance to individuals. Of course, it starts with my family, right? And so I want to be a guide for my daughter as best as I possibly can, to give her a foundation to like exist in the world with all the craziness that it is, and the tough things that we endure, but to give her a foundation, let her know that she's loved, she's supported, let her know that she can take chances because daddy and mommy are going to be here to pick her up, to encourage her, et cetera, et cetera. So with her, with anyone that I encounter, that's why I love teaching. So I have the opportunity to say, hey, to young artists who are freaking 18 years old. And I'm like, I was there. I know how it is. You have to have faith in yourself. You got to be ambitious. You got to work hard. You got to research. You got to, do all of those things that was hard for me to kind of like handle it at certain times in my life. Yeah.
Well, that was my last rapid fire question. I'll have everything for you linked in the description. But what is next for you?
Oh man, what's next? I'm just going to continue to do my thing. I'm auditioning whenever I get auditions, which has been a little more frequent thanks to Zack, dropping that image and people knowing that I'm his Green Lantern. So people in the business are like, so who's this guy who just got to LA a few years ago, who doesn't have too many credits? So I'm getting auditions. So hopefully some things will happen from that. And and then just continuing to raise my daughter. And I'm excited to go through the holidays, her first holidays with her. And for yourself, my friend, your superhero, who are you? Who would you be, Marvel or DC? Go Marvel. Who would you be in Marvel? Who would you be in DC?
Well, I'll do you one better.
Okay, so, great.
Marvel, Captain America back there.
Oh, that was easy. Great.
DC,
nice.
Superman right there.
Awesome. You're a natural born leader, my friend. That's what that is. No, man, this was a lot of fun.